Hi, Jamie here. I have an experience to share, and I'm not calling it a projection experience, although, like I've discussed before, I do believe it is a spectrum, and so all these things live on this spectrum. And so it certainly is one for the books, though. It's certainly a doozy. I still can't quite believe that it happened, but I believe that I will be titling this video something about aliens. How can I not? And so I just wanted to preface this experience with a few things. One is I think when you start projecting and working with your consciousness and altering your state, it's inevitable that you will broach this subject because, in my opinion, aliens aren't like coming in spaceships here from other places necessarily. Maybe they are, I don't know. But in my opinion, and from what I've experienced, the idea of aliens really is more of a multidimensional thing and about shifting into different dimensions. That makes a whole lot of sense to me. And it's something that fascinates me. I mean, I've met many beings and people that are clearly outside of myself. I've talked about them at length. So the other thing about me and aliens is I just want to say I've talked about how I'm a Star Trek The Next Generation fan. I think I mentioned that once. And the thing is that is a true understatement. I am a massive Star Trek The Next Generation fan. I remember when I was 12 going to my friend's house, and she sat us down that night and we watched Star Trek The Next Generation. And I cried. I actually cried because it resonated so much with me and it really touched me. And from that point on, I was a massive fan. And I still am. I mean, like conventions and, uniforms when I was a kid. Still conventions as a grown-up. I mean, I'm a huge fan. So I really am interested in the subject of space and astronomy. In fact, during college, I had 4 majors, one of which that I never finished with, but one of my biggest ones that I studied was astrophysics. So, I'm very interested in the subject. I'm very interested in space and astronomy and life out there. And I really just wanted to say that before I talked about it. So what happened is that I was with my mom and we were in a hotel room and she was in her own bed and sleeping right next to me in this hotel room. This was a few months ago. And my mom forever has been one of these people that talks during her sleep. Her eyes can be open sometimes and she is actually asleep. She just always has had that going on. And so when I was younger, I would think, gosh, she's saying, these crazy things. But now that I'm older, I've had a few experiences where I know that she's asleep, but she's talking. And she's talking in symbol. It's just phenomenal. There was one time where she was saying things, my mom, but she was actually asleep and they were coming out in symbols and I could actually understand her. Not great, but I knew what she was talking about and it was just phenomenal to think about that in that way. And so anyways, we're in this hotel room and my mom starts talking in her sleep. And she's also moving a lot and seems to be in distress. And so I sit up and I'm just kind of looking at her as she's talking and in distress and moving in the bed. And I look down at her and I think to myself, gosh, and I'm an adult now, so I have a rare opportunity to spend the night with my mother anymore. So I thought, now that I know what I know, what is going on with her in these other realms in her sleep state? I know, it really fascinated me. And so I didn't try to wake her. I just listened. And eventually she settled down and she kind of went back to sleep. But it was pretty, not violent, but she was moving. It was something was going on. And so what I did was I went back to sleep and I got lucid. And instantly when I got lucid, I was in a hospital, all white walls, and we were in the corridor where you would kind of sit outside the rooms. And it was me and my mom. And my mom was sitting in a chair right in front of me. And I'm standing facing kind of like a doorway, like a door in the hospital. And she's sitting in there, and she's got her arm up on her chair like this. And I said, Mom, you know, now that I'm lucid, what's going on with you while you're asleep? And she said something along the lines of, oh, you just wait. You just wait and see what I have to deal with. And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking around, and she looked real like, you know, yeah, you'll see. And all of a sudden, I felt the most intense fear I've ever felt. It was like, bam, fear. And instantly it was like, you need to get out of here immediately. And so I grabbed the doorknob and I went to open the door to run away. And my mom said, now look what you're doing. You look like you feel like you're exiting the situation, but what you're doing is you're actually making it look like you're going straight towards them. And she said, so I was in this place where within a split second where she was telling me not to run because it was going to bring them more close, whatever this was. But I couldn't stay there. I was so scared. And so I jumped a level and I said, I need out of here. And I actually forced my eyes open in the hotel room. And again, so scared. And everywhere I go, if I sleep, I'm wearing an eye mask, usually earplugs too. And so I had my eye mask on, but I had opened my eyes, and through the crack at the bottom of my eye mask, I saw inside the room. If you wear an eye mask, you could see there's usually a big crack where you could see most of the room. A lot of lights, not little lights like this, like previous experiences, but I saw like white flashing lights, really fast. And there was also kind of a sound element to it, kind of a ambient noise that was really intense. And I said to myself, oh, I cannot open my eyes. Like, I'm so scared. I was scared from the experience in the lucid dream where I think I entered my mom's dream, and I was so scared that I couldn't do it. And I realized that if I could just force myself to move up a little bit of a notch and just open my eyes a little bit stronger, I could come back to where it was here. And I did. And sure enough, I forced my eyes open again, and I was in that room again, but it was black and quiet. And I took my eye mask off, and I looked around, and it was all black and quiet. And I looked at my mom, and I was so scared. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to lie, I thought to myself, like, aliens? Like, is she being abducted by aliens? I mean, what is going on? Like, there's something clearly going on. So, oh dear, this is a longer video. So I went to sleep, and I've been working with my hypnagogic imagery, which is the images that you see right before you go to sleep. And I'm able to hold them now more. And I've been working with them. And it's been really interesting. And I might make another video about that just in general. But, so when I go to sleep now, I can see the images in front of my face. And I saw, now if I had to say on a scale from 1 to 10, this was definitely more of like a 5 image. But I saw like a gray alien. But the head was like bigger, and the face was kind of different, like it was more structured. But again, a 5 image where it was like, boom, I saw it and then it just went away. And I thought, oh my gosh. And honestly, I was so scared. I hardly slept that night. I mean, just the idea. I mean, I've seen so much, but like, just that idea was kind of freaky. But, so I come home, and, you know, I've got this kind of in the back of my mind of what that was about. And then a couple days later, I'm laying down in bed. And again, I'm working with my hypnagogic imagery, where I'm working with the images. And the image that came forward very quickly and very clearly, more of like a 7, was a cartoon alien with like the head cartoon in bed, like with a book and like a little lamp. And I could hold it for a really long time. And I was like in that kind of in-between state where I'm holding this image. And I said out loud, or I said in my head, I guess is more accurate. What is that, me in bed? What am I, an alien? What is this about? Like, I was just in bed reading a book like that 5 minutes ago. And at that moment, an image of a gray alien with the head, but more classic, like more like what people describe, but a 10. Photograph image, clear as day, looking directly at me and just off to the side a little bit, but clear as day, clear as a photograph, which I know people that work with these images, we have a hard time getting the photograph image, but it was clear as day. It was a photograph. So, I mean, when I opened my eyes, my heart was pounding. I couldn't believe it. I mean, the hypnagogic state, that in-between state, is definitely something. like an access point. There's something to it. I've been working with the hypnagogic state for a while, this last few months, and there is definitely something to that. And then what happened shortly thereafter, over the course of several weeks, was I started having dreams, a lot of dreams about, I can share one very quickly. I had a dream where I wrote in the dream, they'd been taking Mom and I for a really long time, fairly regularly, and we just realized it. They would make us unconscious here, and then we'd be fully conscious over there. And most of the time we would go separately, except for once. And I was trying to teach her to stay lucid, to remember everything that happened. And it goes on from there. But so this experience poses so many questions. I can see things at night when I open my eyes, and one of the things I used to say when I was younger was, you know, I don't care what happens. I just don't want an alien. Like, I was scared of aliens, and I have no clue what they are. I certainly know there's a lot of theories. There's this idea of, like, are they us? Are they our guides, like, coming in different forms? I could see all of that being potential. There's also this idea of, like, them and us, and, like, a separation there. And, you know, I just, it kind of, that binary and that polarity, I don't discount people that fear them in that way, because they're like over there, and what are they doing? But there has to be more going on inside, like, with these situations. I was reading something the other day about how humans are so obsessed with death, but they are not really concerned about the death before. You know, where were we before here? Why don't we have any memory of where we were before here? That is certainly also a death. Just so many questions, obviously, that we have being here and experiencing the things that we do. So again, so that's that. This is longer than I had hoped. I always try to keep my videos short. But anyways, thank you for listening. Don't be in fear. I think, honestly, the subject, the takeaway from my experience that I'm really going with is my mom's message. Her saying, look, you running and being fearful and trying to get away is actually looking like, from their vantage point, it's looking like you're coming right for them, like you want them to come to you. And so there is something hugely about this idea of fear. It just needs to be tackled. We need to know that we have license and that we have dominion here in our own lives. Such a big thing. And I hope that I didn't open up too big of a thing with that. So anyways, fear. Take care. Talk to you soon.